is a screen with the emulsion ready to go on this. This is light sensitive, so we don't want to leave this out too long. Set that down for just a second. And what we need is our transparency that comes with the Yudu, or you have to buy refills for other ones. And what I've got here, we're working on Everyday Artist Studio logo things today. So I've printed this up on the special Yudu inkjet printer friendly transparency. And I'm going to put this in the middle of our glass here. I'm going to try to center that. And that's the design we're going to burn on to our screen. Now make sure you're using your screen with the emulsion on the bottom. And we're just going to put this over our little registration tabs here. Make sure everything looks nice and straight. That's great. Now we're going to use our platen. And our platen is what you put a t-shirt on when you're going to print on it, but the other side has this nice foam material that helps hold down the design here. So we put that on. There's two little prongs on either side. And that platen goes on there. You can go ahead and shut this now. And now you need about a 5-pound weight. I'm using this really lovely little typewriter bookend because it's about 5 pounds. And that's keeping the image really tight to the glass. So we'll get a sharper image than we would if we didn't push that down. Now, you can't see this, but on the front here, there is a button that looks like a sun shape, and that's our exposure button. So I'm going to hit that, and it's going to go off, and I'm making sure the time is set for 8 minutes. All right, the timer just went off, which means we are all set here. Take off our lovely paperweight, open the lid, take off the platen. Easier said than done. There we go. And then take up our screen. And you probably can't see this, but there's green where the design was, and it's blue where essentially the emulsion is cooked. So we're going to go wash this off and then come back, and I'm going to show you some ways to tape off and print multiple designs for work or a small entrepreneurship type activity when we get back. Let's pull out our screen here. We washed out that green part, so let's see, that's backwards. So you can see through the screen. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the centerpiece here, and we are going to print it onto little Moleskine brand journals. So, and we're going to brand it with our Everyday Artist Studio logo here, our little sort of dolled up logo. And what I've done, let me set this aside, on our platen, which is what you put a t-shirt on if you're doing your t-shirt, here, what I've done is I've laid it down and placed the screen over it so I could see where I wanted this to line up. And now I've just placed a couple spare pieces of paper here that I can line up my book on. Now, if you're using your platen for the very first time and you're using it with a paper product like this, you might want to take something like a piece of felt, and we talked about this in the first video, and just push it onto the platen so that it picks up a little bit of the sort of fibers of the felt. It makes it a tad bit less tacky so that it doesn't rip your paper to smithereens. So that's important. You wouldn't want to put a brand new replacement adhesive sheet on before you did a paper project. So anyways, you use a guide like this if you want to be able to keep printing something in the same spot. There are multiple ways of doing that. This is just a quick and dirty way. I'm putting my platen on the table here, and now I'm going to close this. Actually, the other thing I want to do so that my screen does not stick to the platen here, because that's pretty sticky, I'm going to put down the spare adhesive that usually is stored onto this platen, and I'm going to reach over here, and I've got some of our adhesive sheets that we used. These are what we pulled off the emulsion, so I'm just going to set this over the card so I know sort of where to cut here. I'm just going to cut a little piece around, because essentially we're putting this emulsion side down, and then we push down to print our little books here, we could push that emulsion right down to the sticky side, and then we would mess up our entire screen. So again, this is just a little quick and dirty tip so that we end up with a screen we can use over and over again, especially since what we did here is print 3 different images, just the logo, the little souped up logo, and something bigger that we're going to use later on an apron. So we place this under the little, there's a little tab here, and we line up. Oh, and let me back up 1 second because I forgot to tell you something else I did, which is I took some plastic packing tape and I put it all around the outside edges here where the screen shows, and that keeps us from getting our ink there. So again, putting this right side up, and the right side is the part that has a little bit of a lip around the silver edge, and that is to hold sort of the ink in and keep it from running off. And what I want to use is this middle design here, and I want to not use the other one. So, and this is important, if I put this tape on the back side, it would stick to the emulsion. We just want to keep from getting ink through here. So I'm going to put it on the screen side, and I'm just putting it over the other 2 designs. And you want to make sure when you're making your designs on the computer that you are giving them some space, because you got to still lay down your line of ink, and I'll show you that in just a second. Again, go to everydayartiststudio.com in the video section and look under the Yudu, and you can see the other videos we've done on this. And so I'm just sticking this. This is just sticking to the screen, and it'll come back up for us when we're ready to switch to the other screen. I'm going to place this down here. All right. Now, our 2 colors for Everyday Artist Studio, our 3 colors, are green, teal, and red. So we're going to use red today. All right, so we're going to put this on here. Now, some of them come out much thicker than this. If you keep them, if you're working with these a lot, you get a little styrofoam block and keep them face down on there, and it'll keep it with all the ink at the top of the bottle. So I'm using the regular squeegee that comes with it. What we want to do first is flood our screen, and that's just taking the ink that's on here and getting the little screen part wet, and then we'll push it down and actually pull our print. Alright, so we're just going to take it and use a 45-degree angle on this and pull it forward. So now you can maybe see from there that the whole part that was clear screen is now red. So now I can push this down. We put our ink on here. Hold it at a 45-degree angle and pull our print. And I'm just going to set this aside right here. Let's take a look at what we did. Alright, so we have a cute little Everyday Artist Studio notebook now. So let's do one more of those. Let's do one on the darker green. I'm just going to stick this right on here. And I'm going to set this down. Let's put a little more ink on. You also need to be careful that you don't make your detail too fine. It won't ruin your screen, but you might not see that if the ink is too thick to actually get through there. There we go. Excellent. All right. So there we go. We have our little logo on there, and we have a finished piece. So what we're going to do is clean this off, and then we will use the other side. We'll take this tape off, and then we can print an apron. We can use the other logo and print it on a bag or something else like that. So think about how else you can use the Yudu in multiple ways. I hope you enjoyed this. Again, we are happy to have you come visit at everydayartiststudio.com anytime you want. We're there to help inspire you to live more creatively every day. Thank you.